Hello, this is OC Skywatch. It is the 11th of December 2015 around 10 p.m. and I'm just going to be showing you an overview of what has been going on here for the past few days. A bunch of crazy stuff as normal. Gonna try to make this as short as possible as I'm pretty tired right now. So bear with me. We'll get this done. Okay, this is December 9th. 8:30 to 12 Zulu, and what we have here is a rather disorganized system in the Gulf of Alaska. Of course, they're spraying a bunch of aerosols into it, so it ain't gonna do much. Down to the south, we have a developing low pressure system, and to the southwest and southeast, there are heavy chemtrails being laid all around here, which is no good. They're trying to keep the jet stream flat, prevent this thing from turning into a huge, massive system. Have to keep it suppressed. The system looks okay now, but in a few frames it'll look not so great. Okay, let's look at the aerosols for like a minute or so. Let's slow this down. See these lines come out of nowhere. Very typical. And that's going to create that capping inversion and suck the moisture right out of this thing, so it doesn't do much. The aerosols also help with ionospheric heaters in their operations. Okay, let's look towards California. Whoa, huge storm of these things. I'm telling you, we've been getting hammered for a good 8 or 9 days in a row. I'm not even kidding you, it's ridiculous. Again, we see these lines come out of nowhere. 2 videos ago showed that this plume right here had a lot of moisture in it. They can't really let it fall because it'll ruin their agenda. Okay. This is a couple hours later, and you could see that this low pressure system is gaining momentum. And aerosols over here and over here are continuing to be laying down. I mean, look at that. They're not even trying to hide it. I'm telling you, they always do the heaviest stuff offshore, so when it comes onshore, it doesn't look so obvious. But to the people who know, it's still noticeable. Over here we see a bit of drying around. This thing's starting to be pushed up a bit. It's very interesting how there's a huge pocket of dry air over here. Okay, this is December 9th, 1930 to 23 Zulu, and what we can see here in this low pressure system is a clockwise flow starting to take shape on the north side. There's also quite a bit of dry air down here. That's no good. Anyways though, didn't see that before really, so why does it appear? I thought this thing was supposed to be strengthening. Very interesting. Here's another shot of the aerosols being laid off the coast of California. Hell, there's even some being laid on top of California right here. Anyways though, this looks like a deliberate droughting of our state. See all the cross hatches and stuff up here. And down to the south we have an area of drying. Very typical what they do. The barometric pressure usually rises when that happens. I'm going to show you barometric pressure readings at the end when we had rain suddenly disappear. And over here is just the classic aerosols. Nothing too fancy. Still though, the dryness is continuing to be pushed up north a bit. They're building up a high pressure here. They're going to destroy this low and then it's going to reform, give us a little rain and coolness and quite a bit of wind. Okay, this is visible same time, and well, it doesn't look really too bad right now, but you see a bit of clockwise rotation towards the north side. Very minor, but you know it's there. Something's just not right with the system now. Slow this down. These clouds are being pushed off to the right for no good reason, it seems. Okay, down here in California, there seems to be a drying happening. That's just very, very odd. Up in Northern California, the jets are still spraying. There's natural clouds below these aerosols. Anyways, this front here associated with a low pressure, there seems to be some very, very odd activity in there. An unusual clearing. You see a bit of clockwise rotation as well. I think they're pressing dry air down here to minimize the amount of rainfall heading into California. That's what they do. It's all along here. Okay, this is a couple hours later, December 9th going into the 10th, 21:32 1 Zulu. Here you can see that this low pressure system has very, very odd activity in it. Not saying it wasn't odd before, but it's becoming even more apparent. Clockwise rotation on the north side. It's very, very odd. I thought low pressure systems were all supposed to be going counterclockwise, not have some clockwise in it. Clockwise is high pressure, so yeah, that's very interesting. Probably spraying some aerosols in it just to weaken more. This thing's gonna look like a disaster in a few hours. It's being blown apart. Again, more aerosols in California, of course, just to minimize rainfall. Some aerosols over here as well in this front. See, it's drying for no reason. It's over the ocean, for Pete's sake. You would expect it to be getting more moist. Okay, this is visible for the same time, and this is what I wanted to show you. Right here, there's a bit of an arc shape showing up on the north side, and it's next to this clockwise rotation. Okay, let's slow this down. It just appears. Also seems to be clouds dissipating in here towards the clockwise rotation. That's one thing I noticed. Just a very odd formation. And over here, clouds seem to be drying up more, and that's going to reduce the intensity in the front. Even see some aerosols above here. Why am I not surprised? It's like a little postage stamp of some sort. Don't know how else to describe it. I believe that's going to help the ionospheric heaters do their job. Okay, this is a few hours later, December 10th, 9:30 to 13 Zulu, and this thing is not looking good at all. Looks more of like an oval than a circular thing. It's just very disorganized. Let's go slow this down. Ah, my leg's falling asleep. But anyways, you see what's going on here. It's not good. Very, very strange. Over here in this front, that's trying to continue to develop. There's a massive amount of drying on the west end of it. Over towards the east, off the coast of California, aerosols are continuing to be laying. I even see some being laying over California in the southern part. Very typical. Down towards the south, the dry air thing keeps growing. This high pressure right here is going to help drag this thing down. They had to destroy this core for them to be able to do their operation. It's very, very interesting little wavy things in here. And there's some aerosols up here, of course, because that's just going to help with their operation. There seems to be a low pressure starting to develop to the west of this high, but it's going to look very strange in a few frames. It's going to be very, very dry. Okay, this is shortwave, same time. Here's another view of the disorganization in this low pressure. Very bizarre looking. Over California, we're getting the aerosols pretty good. Not a whole lot of rain beyond this point here. It's going to be dipping more towards the south, but still it's not as much as we would expect. See this jet stream right here? Very interesting. This moisture coming from here seems to be being cut off for no good reason. That's very, very bizarre. It's just ending like that. It wants to rebound over here, but it's being all sprayed into, which is going to minimize rainfall. Down to the south, there's a lot of clearing and wavy formations. Okay, this is December 10th going to the 11th, 2032 0 Zulu. What we have here is a disorganized mess. Aerosols being laying over here, actually quite visible, and a bunch of clockwise rotation. That's not normal for a low pressure. Clockwise here, clockwise here, clockwise here. That's no good. So this thing's basically a disaster. This dry air down south is continuing to grow. Like, holy cow, that's a lot of dry air. You see it clearly expanding right in this position. Yeah, they're pressing a lot of dry air down. There is actually high pressure here, I believe. Still though, look at all those aerosols over California, getting completely plastered. Okay, this is visible. Again, we see a lot of really strange activity. Clockwise, counterclockwise, aerosols, it's all on here. Out in the Pacific, we have a very, very weird area of disappearing clouds. Again, they're building in high pressure, going to drag this system down. And still, this jet stream is disappearing for no good reason. California, you see the aerosols again. Very visible. There's natural clouds and then there's aerosol clouds. the aerosol clouds are creating that capping inversion, and we see no rain, especially down here in Southern California. It's no good. Okay, this is December 11th, 3:30 to 7 Zulu. A lot of aerosols still impacting Southern California. There's a little bit of rain here, but not much at all. Again, look at the state of this low pressure. It's very, very weird. There's a lot of unnatural stuff in there. Aerosols continuing to be laying down. It's like a little notch forming. We got a little bit of rain last night, but it wasn't too much, and it was being suppressed by a bunch of aerosols. Man, just look at that. That's nasty. Again, this thing is getting even bigger. Dry air keeps expanding, and yeah, you see this thing starting to take a plunge now. It's mainly a cool down event though, because when you get a bunch of air coming down from the north, things are going to get a bit cool in California, cooler than normal. Today we got a little bit of rain, but it wasn't much. It stopped after like around 20 or so minutes. This is a long way up here, and there's even more disorganization showing up here. Here's a very interesting opening in the clouds. That's where they're pressing a bunch of dry air to drive this thing up. The jet stream's still being cut off though, which is never good. It means less rain is able to fall. I think if they weren't jacking around with this jet stream, Southern California would have gotten a soaking. Okay, this is December 11th, 7:30 to 11 Zulu, and not too much else to say other than the system is traveling more down towards the south, and this notch is really starting to take shape. Very interesting opening over here. Okay, this is water vapor, December 11th, 18:30 to 22 Zulu, and this is when we were having some rainfall. Have this little pocket right here go over my area. Precipitation fell and dissipates very, very quickly. And what you notice here is it seems to be a little bit of drying. This is pretty much the top here of the notch thing. Looks like it's falling apart. This is pretty much what's left of a huge system that Mother Nature wanted. This thing has gone way north now, and you see all that cool air being dragged down. Very typical. And over towards the west quite a bit. The system that's trying to form is not looking so great. It has a huge, huge amount of dry air in towards the center. That's very bizarre. Usually you would think that a weaker low pressure system would have more moisture towards the center, but yet we're not seeing it. And you see it's continuing to dry. A little bit of activity trying to form here, but unfortunately though, I think they're spraying a lot of aerosols into it. They don't want more rain to fall in California if they can help it. Okay, this is visible. See some clouds over the area. That's us getting rain. But you will notice that something starts going very bad. I think I see a thing expanding outward here. It's around that time where the pressure flatlines in the area. There's quite a few clouds in here, but trust me, they're going to disappear. And over here, we have these very unusual formations and openings. Seriously, this whole thing is very bizarre. See the edges of the clouds and the clearing expanding out. This area right here is especially interesting. There seems to be different layers being impacted in different ways here. And this thing is just, it's like a roll cloud expanding out. Don't know what else that would be. See, over towards this low pressure system, we have these little rings all around, which are an indication of dry air being pressed down. Over here we have not a whole lot of activity. Could be like a little boundary around here, but it doesn't show up too well and visible. Okay, this is a couple hours later, December 12th, 032 4 Zulu, and here in California, the rain is dissipating, and we have this area drying. This is when the pressure spike begins. See the storms, they're suddenly shutting down. Anyways, though, it's very, very strange stuff happening. There even seems to be a little thing right here appearing. It disappears, though, after a little while. It's just very odd. Seems like there's a clockwise flow in here. You know, we have this huge mass of dry air that keeps growing. This low pressure over here trying to form. The center is completely dry. Not much else to say about it. And over here it looks like these thunderstorms or rainstorms are popping off and then they're suppressed. That's very, very bizarre. This little line here that appears out of nowhere. Didn't notice that before. This is the last of the satellite browser images. Then we're going to move on to barometric pressure and then jet stream maps and stuff like that. Over California, these storms are disappearing and there's clockwise flow. That's when the barometric pressure started rising. It just seems very, very open towards the end of the loop. Slow this down. Out in the Pacific, again we have these weird formations. Nothing new there. Then we have this little thing right appears out of nowhere. And there is not much activity down towards the south other than this, which is another indication of dry air. That's no good. Okay, let's slow it down. Okay, let's go look at the barometric pressure. This is for Orange, California. Let's actually refresh this thing because it's been a little while. Pressure's continuing to rise. Interesting. Okay, the pressure starts lowering dramatically around December 11th, 18 Zulu, around that. And then by December 12th, 0 Zulu, pressure starts rising rapidly. So it basically went up a few millibars within a couple of hours. And that's pretty big. Between 1008 and 1007 millibars all the way up to currently between 1010 and 1011 millibars. Okay, this is for Santa Ana, California. Let's go refresh this again and watch this pressure rise up. Again, we have pretty much the same pattern as orange. Pressure pretty much starts plummeting around December 11th, 18 Zulu, and it bottoms out around December 12th, 0 Zulu. Then it starts going way up. And when it starts going way up, that's when all the clouds started disappearing in my area. Of course, I would expect the clouds to be disappearing when there's a ionospheric heater attack. They do almost every other time here. So why would this time be any different? Okay, this is out of curiosity, Ridgecrest, California, near China Lake, that Navy base. And it bottoms out around 1004, and this is kind of a weird graph. I'm not sure which one to believe, but yet there's still a major change in pressure by quite a few millibars in a few hours from the low point around 0 Zulu December 12th. Let's go refresh this thing, see if it goes up anymore. Yeah, the pressure is currently climbing now. Okay, let's go into the relative humidity maps. We're almost done here. We just have the humidity maps, which will be pretty fast, and then we have the animation of pressure maps. Okay, this is a map for 850 millibars, 5,000 feet for December 11th, 18 Zulu. There's quite a bit of moisture all throughout California at this level. Humidity is not dipping below 30% in any part of the state. 6 hours later, quite a bit of stuff drying out. Okay, this is 700 millibars, December 11th, 18 Zulu. Quite a bit of moisture over California, especially Southern California. Up in Northern California, there's a little bit of dry air. Up here off the coast of Oregon, though, seems to be a lot of dry air. This is probably where the top of the notch was. Low pressure up there. 6 hours later, huge amount of dry air over Southern California, especially here. Like, what happened? That's crazy. December 12th, the 0 Zulu is pretty much when the pressure started spiking way up. Obviously, something weird's going on here. Okay, this is 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. This is December 11th, 18 Zulu. There's quite a bit of moisture in Central California towards Southern California. There's dry air. I think the moisture actually traveled down, and that brought us a bit of rain. See, 3 hours, yeah, moisture. But another 3 hours, stuff seems quite a bit drier. Very interesting. There is a drying occurring at many levels. It's not just a certain altitude. Okay, 300 millibars, 30,000 feet. This is December 11th, 18 Zulu. Huge amount of dry air over the state. In Southern California and some parts up in Northern California are pretty moist, and that's primarily where the aerosols are being laid. And it's dry air. I usually see these dry air things associated with these bends in the jet stream. Very interesting. There's quite a bit of dry air near Washington as well. Washington has a lot of dry air around the core of this jet stream distortion. Okay, this is 6 hours later, December 12th, 0 Zulu. Pretty much the whole state of California is in the dry air mass. This is the flow that's created by that massive high pressure out to the west. There's some aerosols in it, unfortunately, so I don't see any rain coming from that. Also, and a lot of these layers west of California is pretty dry. It's very bizarre stuff happening in the jet stream, I'm telling you. Okay, this is the sea surface pressure analysis. It starts at December 9th, 12 Zulu, and then ends at pretty much the present. Okay, you can see that this low pressure is right here. It's forming up. Okay, 6 hours later, it's indicated as pretty strong, around 978 millibars. I think that's right. Resolution's a little bit messed up on this thing, but still pretty clear. Also sitting back quite a bit further from the monitor, so that helps. Anyways, though, yeah, in this developing storm, there's a little bit of an odd opening here in the clouds. Okay, the center of low pressures usually end up in the northwest, and then this tail hits us in California like a constant flow. That's how it used to happen, but it's just not doing it anymore because of unnatural forces. See a bit of high pressure here over California. That's very, very typical. And yeah, they use the aerosols along with the ionospheric heaters to keep a lot of moisture out of California. I think we know that by now. Okay, 6 hours later, the tail is looking kind of not so great, and the jet stream's being cut off here by dry air. There's a high indicated, and it's pretty big actually. Okay, another 6 hours. This thing starts breaking up around December 10th, 6 Zulu. See the very, very weird shape starting to take place. Okay, let's fast forward again. Yeah, it's a disorganized mess. Still indicated as a low, but it looks more of like an oval than a circle. You know, what's kind of interesting is this system right here has been here for a couple of days. It's just stationary. Okay, let's go another 6 hours. Very, very weird shaped oval low pressure system. This high is growing. See up here in the isobars, it's indicated as a high.
And that indicates why clouds are disappearing.
And you notice that towards the center of this high pressure, it's strengthened a bit. Now it's 1,029 millibars. Okay, another 6 hours. It weakened by 1 millibar. This high keeps getting bigger, and now everything's starting to come down into California. This low is looking a little better, but it's not going to last long. Very interesting pressure gradients there. Might be high pressure. This is pretty much what's left of the front. That brought us a little bit of rain last night. Not even like 2/100ths of an inch. It was just enough to get the ground wet. Okay, this is December 11th, 6 Zulu, and pretty much stuff is put into place. Okay, December 11th, and now the rain's going to begin soon. See, there's rain here in Southern California, December 11th, 18 Zulu, and then fast forward. Stuff is pretty much gone now. At this time, December 12th, 0 Zulu. It's forecasted that there would be an 80% chance of rain on Sunday night, but I'm gonna see it to believe it, because they keep shutting down our rain. It's gonna impact drought zero, and it's looking more like a psyop each and every day this happens. Okay, let's look at the 500 millibar. This will go much faster than the last segment. Okay, let's actually go back to the beginning here. Okay, December 9th, 0 Zulu. See this thing forming. December 10th, 0 Zulu. This thing will start looking kind of strange. Not a whole lot of weird stuff in the isobars. December 10th, 12 Zulu. This thing starts looking very, very weird. Again, the jet stream is being cut off here. This thing would have been a huge, massive low pressure and would have brought us like at least 4 inches of rain if they hadn't screwed with it with all the aerosols and dry air. Okay, this is December 11th, 0 Zulu. This thing is pretty much trying to rebuild itself, but it's not gonna last too long.
In California, there's a bunch of ups and downs in isobars.
Still, the jet stream's being cut off. There was a little bit of rain last night that came out of this, but it wasn't much. Like 2/100ths of an inch at the most. Okay, another 12 hours. This thing is still marked as a low, but it's not looking so great on the isobars. And now the second bout of rain is starting to come down. Okay, another 12 hours. It's pretty much finished.
The isobars in the Mojave look very, very strange. There's like a mixture of high and low pressure.
There's still a little bit of activity right in this area, but it was pretty much shut down. Okay, this is the 300 millibar height analysis. This low pressure right here is starting to form. Okay, there's a little dip here, but still overall it's not marked. Okay, December 10th, 12 Zulu, this thing starts falling apart. What a difference 12 hours makes. There's a steady jet stream flow going into California that should have some bigger clouds in it, but we just don't see it. This thing would have brought us a ton of rainfall if they hadn't messed with it. I'm almost certain we have a super El Nino, and yet we're not seeing the storms of super El Nino strength. The water's warmer than normal, so why aren't we getting more precipitation? Okay, December 11th, 0 Zulu. This thing's rebuilding and stuff's starting to head down.
Finally marked as a low.
December 11th, 12 Zulu, the rain activity's still heading down, and then by December 12th, 0 Zulu, the jet stream's right over Southern California, and stuff seems to be clearing out. See little wiggles as well. Bit interesting. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you for watching, and please share. We must continue to expose these criminal programs. This stuff has to end.